the white casserole dish in your mother's cupboard is made from the same material as the nose cone of a guided missile. That is not a figure of speech. And it isn't even the most valuable thing she was given at her wedding. There are 13 of those gifts still sitting in ordinary kitchens tonight. Let me get the disappointing part out of the way, because none of this works if you can't trust me on the small numbers. Most of what came off a 1970s wedding list is worth almost nothing today. The crystal especially. Everything I give you is a sale with a date on it or a museum record, not an asking price. Those are very different numbers, and the gap between them is where most people get hurt. The difference between the casserole worth $20 and the one worth $6,000 is a pattern name and a year that stopped being printed. Same shape, same shelf, same wedding. Coming in at number 13, the silver-looking serving pieces start with the tray, the cake slice, the teapot. Turn one over. If it says EPNS, I'm sorry, electroplated nickel silver. There's no silver in the base at all, it's copper, nickel, and zinc. The silver is a coating thin enough that you cannot melt it off, because separating it costs more than you'd recover. There is no floor under this. Your test tonight. Look for the walking lion, the British sterling mark. Plate gives you letters instead: EPNS, EP, Aeon, and no lion, no assay mark. Then check the edges for yellow or coppery patches where it's worn through. One estate seller laid out a full wedding set of these. Platters, bowls, the lot, started at $24 to $40 each, ended at $5 to $20, most never sold. Number 12. The crystal. Here's the number that tells you everything. There are companies that buy Waterford collections in bulk. Their published rate for Lismore, the most famous crystal pattern in the world, is $4 for a champagne flute and $3 for a wine glass. Mint condition only. No chips, no repairs. Lismore was cut by Miroslav Havel in 1952 and named after a castle in County Waterford. For 40 years, it was what you were given when someone wanted to mark that you'd arrived. 3,000 people made it across 3 Irish factories. On the 5th of January 2009, Waterford Wedgwood filed for bankruptcy. 3 weeks later, 500 workers got letters telling them they were redundant and production moved to Slovakia. Your test tonight. Check the base for the acid-etched mark or the seahorse, then tap the rim. A real one rings and keeps ringing. Every New Year's Eve, 1 billion people watch Waterford crystal come down over Times Square. And your mother's set is a $3 wine glass. Number 11. The good table linen, the damask cloth that came out twice a year and went back in tissue paper. Most of it is worth very little now, and one stain takes it to nothing. But look at what it was. By 1915, over 75,000 people worked in Belfast's linen industry, and Northern Ireland was the largest linen-producing region on Earth. The city's nickname was Linenopolis. The patterns were lifted from the Book of Kells, harps, wolfhounds, Irish castles. The mill at Donegalcloney, run by the Liddell family, supplied the tablecloths for the Titanic. Then it went. By 1973, 2 firms that had been rivals for over a century, Ewart and Liddell, merged because neither could survive alone. Today, Thomas Ferguson in Banbridge, weaving since 1854, is the last damask weaver left in Ireland. Your test tonight, hold it to a window. Real damask shows its pattern in the weave, not the print. Then look for the maker's paper band. People kept the band on the ones they never used. That's the one worth money. Bought as a wedding gift, saved for a formal occasion that never came. Number 10. The Carriage clock, the one on the mantelpiece that stopped around 1994. Breguet made travel clocks for Napoleon. His own archives record a repeating carriage clock sold to him in 1798. For a century afterwards, they were for aristocrats and diplomats. Then German and Swiss factories worked out how to make them cheaply, and the carriage clock became the standard gift for a wedding or a retirement. Your test tonight. The value is in the movement, never the case. Open the back and read the plate, Hermel, Schatz, Elipe, Matthew Norman, Kundo, then see whether it runs. Here's the sad part. The 1970s gift clocks are lighter than they look. Thin plates, thin brass, thin glass, built to a price. And the same decade that produced the most of them was the decade quartz arrived and destroyed the trade that made them. Number 9. The stand mixer, the heavy chrome one that lived on the counter and outlasted the marriage. Ivar Jepson and Bernard Graham invented the Mixmaster in 1928, the first mixer with two detachable beaters whose blades interlocked. Sunbeam released it in 1930. It came out of a company that started in the 1890s making sheep shearing equipment. The 1970s model was 12 speeds, chrome, tilting head, 2 stainless bowls. Some came in harvest gold. Some came with a brown woodtone stand to match a brown woodtone kitchen. Your test tonight: original bowls and beaters present, chrome not pitted, cord not perished, and it has to run through all 12 speeds. Missing bowls have it, and this one is true. In 1969, the physicist Charles Misner published a model of the chaotic early universe. He called it the Mixmaster universe, named after this. Number 8. The brown stoneware. If your family was British, there was Denby. Arabesque, bold circles in yellow, brown and red on a dark brown glaze, was designed by Gil Pemberton in 1962 and 63 after a trip to Russia. She wanted to call it Samarkand. It ran until 1984. And the Victoria and Albert Museum holds 2 pieces of it, a teapot and a plate, the museum's own description. Dark brown semi-matte glaze, brown, yellow, and red enamels, a painted pattern of circles and a daisy in the center. Your test tonight: pattern, name, and completeness. Denby made a family of related patterns. Gypsy, Minstrel, Troubadour, Romany, and Minstrel only ran from 1974 to 1977, which makes it the scarce one. A woman wrote to Denby after Hurricane Katrina flattened her house. Going through the rubble, she found her Denby. It was the only thing that survived. Number 7. The plain white plates Corelle. Launched in 1970, and it sold out repeatedly. The material is vitrelle, 3 layers of glass bonded together, 2 clear around 1 opaque white core. It had been developed for television screens. The first service was 4 large plates, 4 medium bowls, 4 cups and saucers for $19.95. The packaging said it looks, feels, and rings like china, and the advertisements showed a mother tapping the rim to prove it. Then in 1972, the patterns arrived. Butterfly gold, spring blossom green, which everyone called Crazy Daisy, Old Town blue, drawn from Meisson's blue onion, harvest gold, and avocado, the exact colors of the decade. Your test tonight: read the backstamp. Pieces marked Corning, New York are the ones collectors want, and look for any color that doesn't appear in a catalog. Factory test pieces are where the money is. Number 6. The casserole with the blue flowers, now the missile. In 1953, a Corning scientist called Donald Stuckey was heating a photosensitive glass called photoform for television screens. He set the furnace to 600 degrees. It malfunctioned and went to 900. He opened it expecting a molten mess and found a slab of milky white glass. Then his tongs slipped, and it hit the floor and bounced, unbroken, clanging like a piece of steel. They called it pyroceram. It was harder than high-carbon steel, and it didn't block radar, so the Navy put it in the nose cones of Terrier missiles. It later went into fasteners for the space shuttle. 5 years after the accident, Corning printed 3 blue flowers on it and sold it as a casserole dish. Yours is almost certainly worth $10 to $40. Your test tonight: turn it over. A small flame symbol and cursive CorningWare means real pyroceram. Block letters and made in China means stoneware made after 1998. And about those $10,000 listings, Snopes investigated and rated the claim mostly false. The vast majority sell for under $50. A handful genuinely did sell for 5 figures. But those listings came from brand new sellers with 0 reviews. And for one dish that sold for $10,000, Snopes found the exact same photograph on Poshmark 6 days earlier, offered for under $500. Look at completed sales. Then look at who the seller is. Stop the countdown because there's something you need before the last 5. Every couple was given 2 kinds of object, the ones meant to be admired and the ones meant to be used. The crystal, the silver plate, the good linen, the brown furniture. Those were for looking at, and they're worth almost nothing now. The New York Times puts high-end antique furniture down 80% from 20 years ago. An 8-piece set of George III dining chairs that was $8,000 now sells for under $500. And the casserole dish that went in the oven every Sunday is worth thousands. The market did not reward what your family protected. It rewarded what they wore out. Everything in the top 5 is something somebody actually used. Number 5, the fondue set used twice. Then the cupboard for 50 years. It arrived in America in 1964 at the Swiss Pavilion of the New York World's Fair, and it wasn't an accident. Swiss cheese producers ran a deliberate campaign, attractive people in ski sweaters around a pot of melted cheese. It worked. By the mid-70s, there were dozens of brands of fondue pot on the market. Almost nobody bought one for themselves. It was a gift, and it arrived in burnt orange or olive green. The French and Danish ones are the ones that matter. Cousences, a foundry casting iron since 1553, bought by Le Creuset in 1957, and Kopko, founded in Denmark in 1960 and designed by Michael Lax. Your test tonight: turn the pot over for the maker's name, then check the stand and the burner are the originals. An orphan pot is worth a fraction of a complete set. Number 4. The heavy French casserole, the one with the strange square handles. In the early 70s, Le Creuset hired Enzo Mari, an Italian designer, a lifelong communist, who spent his career arguing that ordinary people should build their own furniture rather than buy it. They put him to work on a casserole dish. He changed the handles so you could grip them through an oven glove and called the range La Mama. It launched in 1973 and was gone by the end of the decade. Julia Child owned one in flame red. She called it her soup pot. It's in the Smithsonian now, catalogued as a cocotte from about 1976 with the rest of her kitchen. Your test tonight. The base reads Le Creuset, made in France, with the diameter in centimeters and the same number stamped inside the lid. Then look at the handles, flat on top, square, unmistakable. Number 3. The plastic container servalier. The name is just serve and seal pushed together. Press the middle of that sunburst lid and it's sealed with one finger. In the 70s, Tupperware dropped the pastels and went to Harvest Orange, Avocado, and Gold, and Harvest Orange is the one collectors want. Your test tonight: turn it over for the mold number, then check the lid for cracks and the plastic for turmeric staining. A cracked sunburst lid takes a third off at least, and the honest note: a lot of these now sell for less than the original price adjusted for inflation. You are not getting rich flipping Tupperware. In September 2024, the company filed for Chapter 11. It's still in the cupboards of the people it was given to. Number 2. The canteen of cutlery. Open it. Check the back of a fork. If it says EPNS or Aeon, we covered that at 13. If it says sterling or 925 or carries a hallmark, stop what you're doing. Sterling is 92.5% silver, which gives it a floor nothing else here has. Weigh the box in troy ounces, multiply by 0.925, multiply by the silver price today. That's what it's worth before anyone considers the pattern. Which matters because of 1980. Two brothers, Nelson and William Hunt, spent 7 years quietly buying silver, around 200 million ounces of it. They drove the price from $6 an ounce in January 1979 to a record $49.45. On the 26th of March 1980, Tiffany took out a full page in the New York Times. Their words: "It is unconscionable for anyone to hoard several billion, yes, $billion worth of silver, and drive the price so high that others must pay artificially high prices for articles made of silver." The next day the market collapsed. Silver Thursday. It fell 50% in a single session, from $21.62 to $10.80. Families across 2 continents had already melted their wedding silver. Most 1970s canteens no longer exist. That's exactly why the survivors are worth what they are. Number 1. The casserole with the clovers and the hearts. Most of the Pyrex in your cupboard is worth $20 or $30. But in 1959, at Corning's plant in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, someone printed a pattern called Lucky in Love. Spiky green grass, 4-leaf clovers, pink hearts. It failed quality control. The green ink bled through the pink. Corning has no record of how many were sold, because it was never sold on the open market. For decades it was a rumor. Collectors argued about whether it existed at all. Then, in August 2017, a Goodwill in Western New York found one in a box of donated kitchenware. They put it on their auction site. 19,000 people looked at it. It sold for $5,994, the highest price that charity had ever taken online. A casserole dish. in a donation box, from a house where nobody knew. Your test tonight. A 1-quart round casserole, 473 on the base, an opal white lid rather than a clear one. Capital letters, PYREX. Here's what all 13 have in common. Everyone was chosen by somebody who wanted a young couple to have a proper home. Nobody was thinking about resale. They were thinking about a dinner party in about 9 months' time. And the market has spent 50 years telling that generation they got it exactly backwards. The crystal they were told to treasure is a $3 wine glass. The dish they burned things in went to a charity shop and made $6,000. So stop asking whether something in that cupboard is valuable. Start asking whether anybody ever used it. If this made you think of a specific object in a specific house, tell me what it is in the comments. I read all of them. And go and have a proper look before somebody efficient in your family decides to be helpful with a bin bag.